Try to clean things up whenever we're leaving the document.
Yeah, no worries.
Well, this may be a short show today.
It looks like it might be.
Find out.
You know better than that. We have an Apple topic in here. Come on now.
Oh, this motherfucking sim.
Are we good to go?
I got poop.
Clink, clank, clank,
Clink, clank.
clink, clank.
Clinkety-clank.
So my new camera reflects light onto my glass, so you can see like the two little lights.
It looks like it has smiley face.
They know what kind of camera you use now.
It's a little smiley face. Hello and welcome to Strange Happy Hour. I, of course, am one of your hosts, Brent the Jesterhead Metcalf. Along to my right,
Handsome Joe.
that's right, and on to the left,
The dispatcher, Mark Plover.
I often forget which direction I do last week, so I have to really think about it before we start the show. Of course, we come to you each and every week to talk to you about the very cool tech news as well as the super nerdy video game news that happens. But we don't have time to talk about everything, despite there not being a whole lot of crazy news this week. We don't have time to discuss with you how PS5 owners are being banned for selling their PS Plus collection to PS4 owners. How that works, read the article. We don't have time to discuss how the Demon Slayer movie rakes in over 27 million yen in 45 days, making it one of the highest grossing films in Japan this year, if not the world this year.
And if you're wondering,
we
that's
also-
$5,000 American.
Oh, we also don't have time to talk about how I can't pick these stupid stories. They're all pretty bad. Netflix's Bandersnatch and Choose Your Own Adventure owner settle lawsuit. However, we do have time to discuss what we like to call on this very show each and every week as we gather together under our quarantine bunker umbrella while a part of the Strange Gaming Network. And look at that Strange Gaming shirt. It's so beautiful on the dispatcher himself. What we like to call the important shit. Thank you. I think
So
I'm gonna
glad
take
we were ready for a
the,
musical, Brent, because we could have actually done something
like
really
thinking
cool.
again.
But
You
instead,
guys
you
are
can even mess that up.
always, you're like, I think you know who's gonna do it. I'm just gonna hop in real quickly. Nope, I'm gonna sing song today. I'm gonna
I
take
would
on
like
the
to
first,
actually do it right one day.
I'll never fucking
You know,
have
just to
while
point
I
this out, I
host
think
a
we've done
fucking
more
show.
episodes in our quarantine bunker for the new show than we have on our set.
Correct. That is correct. Yes, I actually have.
It's
probably
got to be
just
getting
have-
close.
Kepley just needs to put all our shit in boxes and give it to us. We're done. We're not going back.
We should all get bits and pieces of it.
So suddenly
Yeah.
we'll get pieces of the wall shipped to us.
I meant more of like what's on our shelves, John. But yeah, well, dude, that's fine.
Well, I'd just be like, have like random pieces of it just stuck up on the walls. just in case you forgot what it used to be.
I hope he takes parts of the wall with the shelf and doesn't remove everything. Like it's just like literally there. Anyways, I would take the first topic of the show, which is a smaller topic that I wanted to highlight because I think this is a great move from Square Enix, where their work from home program they started during the COVID quarantine is now becoming a permanent program for employees who want it. So Square Enix has decided to allow all of their employees, and when I mean all of their employees, I'm fairly certain they mean all of their employees to work
Even the
from
janitors?
home. Even the janitors,
That's
how they're cleaning that office space
amazing.
from their house. I don't know.
Robots. It's all about the future, man.
That is correct. To be fair, unless they own their own office, they're not hiring janitors. It's the building they rent.
Well,
from.
also, if they're not using it, why do they need janitors?
Correct.
Why isn't that a news article? Why are they talking about people losing their jobs?
Yeah, about to say, just lost jobs now. Like, what are we doing?
So as of November 25th, 2020, it is a permanent and core program that will be allow all executive officers and employees to have the option of working from home on its site. So
I
that's
love like they
when
had to
they're-
separate them. That's weird. All
Well,
the
you know, the
executive
CEOs
officers and
yeah.
employees. We're not just being
And
special
employees.
with the rich people.
We got to make sure the rich people are feeling really good about
No
themselves.
kidding.
This includes Square Enix Holdings, and Luminous Productions.
Why are you laughing,
staff.
Mark? You rich bitch.
So this means starting today, because today's the first, they're allowed to have this option with the option of monthly status changes available as needed. So if you were to say, hey, I'm going to be a new father, my wife's pregnant, I need to have a status change of working from home for the next 3 months, you can do so. So they're making it incredibly flexible for their employees. They started this program back in March of 2020, of course, because of our pandemic, COVID-19 taking over the world.
It's actually
But I
been
thought
around for a
this-
while. It's called paternity leave. We just don't support it here in America.
Yeah, we here in the United States now. Why would we do that? That makes no sense. But they were saying that over 80% of their employees surveyed as of June 2020 found that it worked for them and that they were more productive and that they enjoyed the optimal work-life balance benefit compared to having to come into the office.
Yeah.
Well, with
That
you
makes sense.
guys being work from home right now, do you feel like, I mean, I know you have to probably feel more efficient for your life for sure. Because it's like, I'm going to go cook myself lunch or whatever, you know, and you don't have to travel anywhere to go do it and go get lunch. You save money that way. You're more like inclined to do more for yourself, even eat healthier, for instance.
I still want to go get lunch, you know, regardless of whether I was in the office. or
You're
not.
just a lazy rich person, Marcus. Okay.
Mark orders lunch. He's like, servants, please.
I need filet mignon from
Grubhub servants. You're not people. Just leave it at the door.
No,
If I'm-
Joffrey, please stay out of frame.
If I
Thank
pay
you.
you
There we
more,
go.
will you feed me the steak?
Who
Matter of fact, I'll pay
think,
you to watch you eat this steak.
Who do you think pours me whiskey from this wonderful decanter? It ain't me.
Where is Gloria anyway? But to get back on
Wow.
track,
Gonna play this clip.
you know, being able to be more efficient with your personal life to me is like would be phenomenal. I don't have that option. I am a working grunt monkey that just goes around and twists wrenches and, you know, flit around all day in a van. But you know, for you guys, like you'd be able to walk your dog on your break or whatever things that, I mean, that may have even cost you money if you paid for a dog walker to take care of your dog, or, you know, I can only imagine the possibilities and the mental health increase for you. But at the same time, there's the decrease of your home becomes work. When do you shut it off? Like, do you feel like you're really more efficient for work?
So it's funny that you asked this question because I've been thinking about this a lot, especially with this new company. And I truly think it depends, one, on where you work, right? If you're not happy with your job and then that comes into your home, you're not going to be happy. And it's all of a sudden invading a space in which you were happy. It was your getaway. Now all of a sudden it's encroaching. And I felt that in March when I worked for Mark and I's previous employer and was unhappy. I did not like being in this chair. Like the act of being in here was depressing to some degree. Now,
Well, there's no line between where
Exactly.
like you're upset and not, you know. So
Oh,
Well,
I would just
especially-
get a different chair. Like, this is my fun chair.
like this chair.
This
Like
is
chair right
my
here.
chair that I hate.
So-
and every time I
and
sit in it, I can love life.
But
so,
I mean,
so instead, you just have two rooms. You have the depression room and the
Yes.
excitement room.
which is what a lot of people do. You know, my wife, her job can be stressful at times. And one of the things we've talked about is like,
Your wife
there's
has a depression room.
She has it's not a depression
work
room, but it's a
room.
stress room. It's a work room. It's a stress room. It is intended to be
Yeah.
for work in that high level of like stuff's going on. And so we've worked on it a lot. And being in this house has helped quite a bit because her office is upstairs, our bedroom's downstairs, compared to previous houses where they were literally right next to each other.
Does
Where
she
it's,
put anything
hey-
on the walls in that room?
Her office?
Yeah.
Yeah, the beautiful birthday present I got her of the witness puzzles.
Ah, okay. I'm about to say,
Yeah.
I remember going in there and there was like nothing on the walls. I'm like, yep, that's what I would do for work too. Just stare at white.
So behind her, she's got plants, but she tries
Just
to
like
keep
The
it
Office.
clear of any nerd stuff because she does video conferences stuff all the time.
I would totally nerd out. It's like, oh, you like
Yes,
Pokemon? And be like,
me too.
yes, I do like Pokemon. You want to see my
As you
dildo
can see.
collection? I got one of those too.
For me, I have my office / game library, and I call it that very specifically because I have all of my consoles over here from previous life. I have my collection of games, like, so this is intended to be a happy space as well as a productive space, and it has been since I changed jobs, like in a way where I won't say it's detrimental to me, but there's definitely nights where, okay, it's 10 o'clock, I don't really know what to do with myself. You know, maybe I'll just hop on to work. I'll just work for 2 hours, and I will. I'll just go ahead and do it. And I think the company benefits off of that. I don't necessarily have anything negative against it, but it does make me more productive in that manner. My normal day-to-day is equally productive, I would argue.
Well,
Like,
yeah,
I slack off all the time
you
in
don't
an
have to
office.
drive to work to spend time there and have pointless meetings. You can do that at home. But
Mhm.
the increase with your efficiency, I would hope, would outweigh any negative cost that you would incur working from home. And I hope that, you know, these people at Square Enix also are able to do that. But I know that it's also not true for some people. And like you said, it depends on the job. It depends on your boss. Like, are they putting stuff on your computer to monitor every time you move your mouse? Like, it's like, jeez, God, dude, is the job getting done? Like, is what you asked me to getting done? And it's like, yeah, but could I be asking you to do more? And it's like, I don't know. I guess it depends. How much do you want me to hate you this year? Like, Jesus.
Well, that goes into an interesting bit of something Microsoft just released too, where they actually track how much you're doing, because some companies, integrate completely with Microsoft products across the board, from development software using Visual Studio to Teams to chat and everything like that. But they implemented tracking that not just you can use to see your own productivity, but that your boss can use to see your productivity. So
see, here comes the problem, because for every tool you create, there is an equally lazy but determined developer that will go, here's a macro, here's a little script, just fucking run my keyboard.
Here's a USB dongle that wiggles my mouse once every 5 minutes to say that I'm still online.
I would 100% do that, by the way, just in case, just so I don't have to hear it.
Just opens up a new file in Visual Studio and just
types.
Man, he's really going.
Types code out. I promise you, I could write a macro in about 15 minutes that would type something out, have some backspaces for errors, and does some key commands to reformat and do all kinds of stuff. Like, it really could be done. It's not that bad.
Well,
I could have one key here that lasts half an hour or something like that.
But I mean, look at what we're talking about here, though. We're literally talking about figuring out a way to screw them for being assholes to us. It's like, use your energy for better things. Like, if you want more engagement,
like finding another job.
Yeah,
I mean, that's one if it sucks, but at the same time, like, if you don't necessarily mind the work you do, it's just that you have some people up top that make dumb decisions because, I don't know, it's like the GPS on our vans. It's like, yeah, we have it, but it's a giant stick they beat us with. They don't use it to help us in any way. So it's like, instead of being more efficient and saying, hey, I got a job right over here, I'm going to move this from this tech over to you because we'll be able to get at least 3 more calls done today if we do it this way. It's like, oh, I noticed that you left your house at 7:03. Why?
Yeah.
And it's like,
see,
could you, what? Get the fuck out of here. Like, why are you beating me for 3 minutes right now?
I hated the vehicle GPS whenever I worked at the airport down in Florida, because they would monitor like our airside guys if they were doing runway inspections. Well, you're supposed to do them at a certain speed, but the problem is that speed you have to maintain is like 10 miles an hour. If you're going too slow, you're holding up traffic for too long. If you're doing it too quick, you're not going to be able to see things. So they actually would get reports of like how quick you were doing these runway inspections, and like some of these guys would actually get written up for it. And I was like, that's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
Why do you care?
Yeah.
Like, if the guy does something wrong, there's a second person helping out with the runway inspection. Like it's there are other safety checks in there.
Well,
like,
not only that, but like it's the same thing with like reports. It just reminds me of The Office. Do you have those TPS reports? And it's like these things that you don't look at and you don't really need. They're just a check mark that you job justify with. Awesome. I have a bunch of those. And they fill out reports like I have to look at this. I have a GPS and they have to track my mileage by me turning in what my mileage was.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what is the point of having the GPS? You literally only use it to beat me with.
Yeah.
If at all you feel like that day.
You
and it's like, this is what's stressful.
But it's for security of the vehicle in case it's stolen.
It's for safety for you.
For asset recovery.
Dude, they would write that off. And here's the thing. They're self-insured. So it's if it blows up or whatever, it doesn't matter.
If it was for asset recovery, you do it under one of those activation services that you use through like what LifeLock used to be, or not LifeLock. What was the big LoJack?
LoJack, thank you. Yes,
LoJack was not active.
LifeLock, LoJack, same thing.
LoJack wasn't active unless the LoJack wasn't active unless the police were calling to ask, or there was a summons or a warrant out for the information specifically. Come on, get out of here. Like, it's not meant for real-time monitoring. Like, the whole point is you lost something. You need
that's
to
the
recover
thing. It monitors how hard I'm braking, I'm turning, any errors on my vehicle. Like, I'm telling you,
what?
It is invasive.
That's not just GPS.
Oh yeah, I know. I'm about to stick a probe up my ass so they know what my temperature is constantly. But it's just like, That's what I mean. To get to the point, like this isn't a bitch session about work. This is like, there's a positive way to do things with technology, and there's a negative way to do things. And I feel like what Square Enix is doing is moving in the positive direction, and hopefully there's not like a whole lot of over monitoring just to prove a point of efficiency, as opposed to managers managing and being good at their job and doing what they're supposed to and keeping up with the workload for everyone else. Like that's the difference. Like you have to put in the effort. You can't just depend on a bunch of technology to expect you to be more efficient. Like there's a certain balance.
It's not even just efficiency, it's trust, right? You have to trust your employees, right?
I don't trust anybody. I don't trust anybody.
You trust people to an extent, right? I'm not saying trust them with your life, but you trust them with a deadline. You trust them with the work to be done, and you put in measures to ensure that work's getting done. We, in technology, there's like daily stand-ups is a common occurrence, right? Where you have a 15-minute meeting talking about what you worked on.
We also call them jerk circles.
They are jerk circles, yes. They're mostly useless, but again, like the whole point is, hey, I'm telling you this is what I've been working on. So you can deliver upon this. We also do a peer review session where you look at other people's code. Like there are systems in place. Trust those systems. If that system's not working, find a better system.
Yeah.
But don't take it out on the employee. Don't try and cage them into this whole thing where they feel like they're miserable because they can't live their life and work at their own pace. If you're working from home, you should take advantage of this in every degree. And that's employer and employee, right? Like you said, John, at 10 o'clock in the morning when Bree and I are done having our coffee, I'm going to take the dogs for a walk. So that at 10:30, I could be back here for this meeting. And then at 11 o'clock at night, after we're done with this podcast and I have no idea what I want to do with my life, I'll code for 2 hours. Like you get it both ways if you give it both ways.
Again, like it's about being just not an asshole. It's really what it comes down to.
Empathetic. Who would have thought?
But like it cracks me up that we have to even have this conversation after so many studies have been done saying, oh no, like we're getting the benefit. They literally have said that we're getting like on average of like 2 hours more work for nothing.
Yes.
Like this is great. And it's like, but then they find ways to like, oh, I want to squeeze that extra drop. And I'm like, wow, could you be more desperate? Jesus.
Correct. Capitalism is great.
Tastes good.
I do hope this carries over because this is only Square Enix's, like their internal studios. I'm not sure if this carries over to their Western studios or where else this will go, but I do think that one, Square Enix is a large publisher. They have a lot of studios. They produce a lot of content. We've seen Tomb Raider from them. They just recently sold Hitman, but we also have this Final Fantasy, Kingdom Hearts. Like they put out games. So if they can carry this through and
games,
Dragon Quest is out this week. If they can be successful in this and they can show that this will work, hopefully other studios will also emulate other publishers and carry through. Because I think this is wonderful.
Well, Well, and this is also an industry shift too from a development perspective as 100%. Well, where because of COVID, a lot of companies have realized that they can still maintain roughly, if not the same efficiency anyway, without having to pay a lease cost for an office building or desks and power and equipment. And
I mean, could you imagine you could use, I say you save, like, just for instance, this is probably actually really lowballing, about $100,000 a year just on a space, which I guarantee you're paying at least 4 or 5 times that in most instances.
Small office spaces cost $10,000 a month.
Yeah, I'm being very generous. But even with all the other add-ons that they do, I'm like, you could literally send a lunch to everybody and still save money, and you could pay for their lunch as like a bonus. Like, you guys are doing good. I'm paying for all your lunches. Give me all your addresses, and it'll be sent to you.
Still saving, money on that one.
Yeah, or even better, hey, we're gonna write off what's a lunch. Order your lunch, whatever you want. Give us the receipts. We'll take care of it. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome. I mean, like,
all I'm saying is I can be your boss. Just pay me.
Yeah,
I'd be a great boss.
I've seen some companies take this also to the next level where they've gone, instead of work from home policies or permanent work from home policies, they've actually closed satellite offices and extended the work from home policy to a work from anywhere policy.
Yeah.
Go on vacation, move to a new place, live in another state, live in another country. Who cares?
you have an
from
internet connection that's solid, and you have to guarantee that for work, obviously. But yeah,
Right,
100%. Like if I can go to the beach for a week and work there and, enjoy myself while I'm doing something, that'd be great. But it's not like we haven't done that before, right? In some fashion or another. The other thing too is security. Like for Square Enix, like could you imagine though, like, oh, my son's a gamer and he just saw me working on the, Final Fantasy 16 game.
There we go.
And
I know it took a lot. It took a lot from you. You're like, what game did they work on? I've never played a Square Enix game before.
They also make two, right? Like, off. Like, I'm not dumb. But, for instance, just leaking, like he took a picture or even unintended. Hey, I'm hanging out with dad, Instagram picture, and his computer was on the table behind them. And all of a sudden you see the new Final Fantasy logo. Like that would be a huge thing that would have, made a lot of people freaking really happy and a lot of people really pissed. So it's like, you have to like manage this. Like our home connection's going to be secure enough for this kind of stuff.
Well, not only that, some employees are going to have to sacrifice their children. It's just part of this whole process.
Well, I'm about to say, it's like, obviously, if this happened...
Whoa.
No, there was
sacrifice their children. Oh, my God.
There was a tweet where someone goes, like, what if your, like, kid accidentally, like, does this? And be like, we'll have one less relative.
Yeah, we'll have one less child. That's fine. It's not the end of the world. We'll definitely have some children who are excited about this.
I was like, man, there's some company loyalty for you right there, man. Oh, boy.
Listen, Japanese companies historically create window jobs for their employees who have stayed there long enough to just make sure they're taken care of. That sounds amazing. I will sacrifice a child.
For you, Sega.
No, I mean, you're not wrong. But that's with new circumstances come new hurdles. You just got to figure out how to handle it, right? Like,
yeah, well,
as an employee, you're going to have to make sure that you do have a dedicated office space in that regard.
Yeah.
Satellite work sure can happen, but
you guys would obviously use
Starbucks down the
VPNs
road
and shit, so you would be a lot more secure in that instance.
Yeah, so very cool. Hope it carries on through. Do we have any final thoughts before we move on to the next topic?
Gorilla Radio.
Good thought. I like it.
Move on.
Moving on. We're going to go to the dispatcher himself to talk about what's going on with Apple and spending more money in government fines.
It's not that.
Dude, you want to talk about another piss in the bucket? There was like a drip of piss.
It's like a little dribble.
Yeah.
Little dribble.
You couldn't even pick it up with toilet paper.
So the last...
Not even enough to give you a shiver? Like, you get the shiver, you're like, oh, that was good.
It would be so little, I wouldn't be mad if it fell on my shoe.
Correct.
From another person at the other urinal.
You're just like,
You lost me another person. Apple getting fined 10 million euros. I know that sounds like a lot, except last week we talked about them losing a class action lawsuit for $113 million. And I think I mentioned that the percentage of the amount of liquid capital they hold, of that being something like 0.00 something or
5%, 1%.
Yeah, it's only a tenth of that.
Are you pouring your beer from a thermos?
This is what happens when he has a tap, but not upstairs in his room.
Gotta keep it cold, baby.
Yeah,
You're
but
not putting that thing in this office. Are you kidding me? Do you know how fucking heavy that thing was?
Oh my god.
No, I don't. I'm just gonna enjoy the beer from it when I'm over there.
Yeah, we will. It's good. Bluff Mud, baby.
Yeah, Bluff Mud Porter, baby.
Ooh.
Anyways, back to Apple.
Anywho, Apple is getting fined 10 million euros or around $12 million by the Italian Competition Authority for false waterproofing claims on the iPhones.
Why can't we sue them?
Like for every model that goes back to roughly 2017, apparently.
Yeah, it's just like what the iPhone 8 is when they started really going for the water resistance.
Yeah, 8 and 8 Plus specifically. I mean, they all everything probably, I think, after the iPhone 5 or iPhone 6-ish had some kind of waterproofing claim to it.
I don't think so. No, I don't think any of them did until 8. Not in America. Really? Now, in Japan, or I would say either Korea or Japan, I think it was, they did. They had like waterproof phones for multiple generations before we did, which is crazy to me. But apparently they want us to break it, so we have to keep buying them. It's one of those things where it wasn't in their best benefit.
Yeah, Japan, they had it for a long time because it was
so
custom to.
the iPhone 7 and
Because they like
iPhone
to sing
7
in the shower. They have karaoke.
The iPhone 7 and
Where
the
it comes
iPhone
from.
7 Plus have a rating of IP67, which isn't true waterproofing necessarily, as much as it is like splash resistance and whatnot.
And even then, it's like super light. Like you better hope that thing didn't drop into the charge port.
It's 1 meter of no. So that's actually still fine. It's 1 meter of water for up to 30 minutes.
Oh, for the iPhone 8 stuff. Yeah, for that resistance.
No, for the iPhone 7. That's the iPhone 7.
Oh, really?
And I'm pulling this from Apple's website.
Okay. Surprising.
But yeah, so like dating back to the iPhone 8 and 8 Plus, apparently they've been overstating their water resistance by quite a bit. Now, people have had warranty claims apparently about the phone being submerged. And the big kicker here, the reason that there's a fine in the first place on this is not so much them overstating it, it's more that they deny people warranty claims.
Yes.
Because of water damage, meeting the requirements that they've been stating in marketing material.
So they put the freaking water identifier or indicator like underneath where the charge port is, like right in this small spot. So it's like anytime that it got wet, even if it was for a split second, it would show up as if there was water damage regardless. There's no way to identify whether the water damage was from a particular depth or over time. So it's like, and that's the same in America too. I don't know how they haven't been sued into oblivion for every phone that dropped in the freaking toilet.
That sounds pretty slick.
I mean, I don't understand how they have. I don't know how they have.
That was pretty.
I don't know how they've gotten away with it up to this point. If it's really been as much of a widespread issue too, though. Like if they've really had problems where people have been dropping them in there and then not following through on the warranty claims, I would have expected a class action lawsuit against this to some extent. I would have expected some sort of proper scientific research on like how waterproof the phones actually are based on the claims. Okay, let's actually put let's actually get a meter depth of water, inside a bin and drop it in there and make sure it lasts for at least 30 minutes if that's what they're claiming. Which I get, and I guess I just haven't seen anything like this to really say that they haven't met these requirements up to this point.
Well,
which it makes it interesting for me that the Italian competition authority is the one that's imposing the fine in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
If like the EU, for example, hasn't done so, which the EU has no problem imposing fines on large US-based corporations.
They will.
We've
after
seen
this precedent, everyone's going to sue the shit out of them.
Yeah, on Apple alone, they've done it.
Oh yeah, a lot.
Apple, Google, Facebook, all of them have had their own sets of fines, repetitive fines, if nothing else, too. By the EU. So I mean, I'm curious to see maybe what happens from here further on. I haven't seen a whole lot like this, or a whole lot about this. So to me, this was kind of an interesting topic to see come up in the first place. Because the other thing too is these are based on IP ratings that are US standard.
Yeah, but there's a translation for that, right?
What do you mean? From an international standpoint, I don't know.
Yeah, like I imagine in the same way that we convert time, like there is a conversion for like, okay, here's what we tested in our US lab for the water rating, whatever you would equivocate that to in the EU.
But the problem is they did it under perfect, like only one circumstance and conditions with pure water in this one instance, and that was it. Like there was no actual
water.
User
the pure
testing.
Water thing is what killed me. So John mentioned that, I guess, and touched on that earlier, is that based on the controlled lab tests that met the requirements were done using pure water, not anything with any kind of pH imbalance or anything that would have been pulled from a river, chlorine, or a pool, or chlorine,
hot water.
Anything that could have agitated or disturbed rubber seals and things like that would have put it in a realistic scenario.
Urine?
Fuck, minerals in your goddamn
poop?
Tap water, let alone like that alone.
Well, I mean the
how many phones fall in the toilet after like a girl pulls up her pants, but for some reason they can't take it out of their back pocket before to get a crap. But it's
I feel like you're being a little sexist here. You're blaming women. Guys do this all the time too. Okay.
Yeah, that's true. They are wearing tight pants nowadays.
You're not wrong. I wear them all the time. Look at these. Got to.
Look at those calves.
Ooh, baby, the flexing hard. I did squats today. I was going to say before all of that,
Hate squat day.
squat day. I think the reason why you haven't heard about too much of this is like, Mark, have you ever tried to get your phone through a warranty and issues dealt with it?
No, I haven't had any issues with my phone yet. So
it's a pain in the ass. And most people who go through that process, the last thing they want to do is try and deal with another process of trying to hold that person accountable because it takes time, energy, like all of that out of you.
And all they have to say is no, and you don't really have a recourse.
Yeah. Like you're arguing with them. You have to go hire a lawyer to figure out, hey, is this actually viable? Right. Yeah. I need to come up with empirical evidence. I can't do that myself. I've worked 40 hours a week plus because I've got two kids. You know?
It's really not that hard.
It's not, but
you
again,
create a bunch of experiments and say, look, it failed. I mean, look, it failed.
I think the reason why is because there's systems in place to make this more challenging to come at it, which is why as time goes on, we're going to see more and more of these cases arise, right?
And in general, I think that trying to prove something with this in particular, like water damage in particular, I think it's harder to prove that you actually did it in this particular. Well, actually, I guess the scientific study specifically, or a study that meets the requirements of the bounds of their testing. You know, like I'm surprised. Like I said, I'm surprised something like that even hasn't been done. Or maybe I haven't seen anything because it didn't warrant or didn't reveal anything from off the rip.
Now, to be fair, they were just saying that they were misrepresenting what the tests were, what the exact circumstances at which this phone was able to overcome these circumstances. That's what they're mad at. You're misleading the customer into believing that this thing is durable enough to outlast some things, and they're not. And we had people that you weren't willing to service the warranty on, nor could you even prove whether they did or didn't.
Yeah, the warranty I think is the big end.
Yeah,
right?
well,
you're costing consumers money.
Yeah, a lot of
100%. money. Like and money that they shouldn't have based on their expectations of what this phone should have been.
Correct.
But the argument, I guess, maybe to be made one side or the other is a lawsuit may have lost because by technicality, yes, they met the requirements. They weren't kidding whenever they said it could technically survive 1 meter for 30 minutes underwater. It just had to be purified water and this, that, or the other. And if they had it maybe under an asterisk, they could have gotten away with that. And unfortunately, that's the U.S. court system. But the benefit here is that it's an Italian government organization who can, for almost any reason whatsoever, justify and say you're misleading our customers, so we're going to fine you. Yeah. And if you want to continue to sell your phones here, you have to pay that fine.
That fine is the equivalent of 10,000 iPhones. That's it.
That's it.
I can guarantee you every single one. There was probably like just in Italy alone, like 10 times that amount.
iPhones,
that probably should have been under warranty from a phone on their own.
There's an interesting bargaining proposition then for Tim Cook and Apple then is just tell them, well, how about we just donate 10,000 phones to a bunch of your people here, and that'll justify as our fine. None of them will meet the requirements that you're asking us to meet or that we said in the marketing material, but we're going to give away free phones.
Yes. I love
the problem is you'd have to make a lottery system for this, and it's like, I say personally, like, here's the other thing that gets me: the people that were wronged. Who's getting this money? The state is. Yeah. The people aren't getting this money. Yeah. So me personally, as a person who would have been affected by it or anything, I'm actually kind of mad about this. I would at least give the money to the homeless. Or a cause. And it's like, nope, you have to give a non-taxable deductible fee of this much to this institution in order to make rectification. That's what happens
when you don't do a lawsuit and you let the government handle that situation.
Right. And the problem with that's going to be still is, by technicality, maybe a lawsuit wouldn't have worked for this.
Well, no, you can still sue them individually probably, but good luck with that. They're going to freaking throw you in the ground when it comes to money.
You can sue them. I guess my point is, who knows whether that's actually going to go through or whether a lawyer's even going to entertain it because of like whether or not that's actually something that's
between all the appeals and everything else, though. They know how to extend it to make a lawyer's life absolute hell.
The other thing too is, as far as like an individual would be concerned, sure, a lawsuit could happen, but the court's only going to justify a price to Apple based on whatever, or a solution to Apple based on whatever the value of that individual's phone would be worth. with exceptions to extended time and loss to communication and whatever else, like
Well,
non-concrete items that you could justify cost of. But the thing is, you'd have to do a class action lawsuit of a ton of people who have had the same problem to get there. And if there haven't been enough, then it's not worth the time and the money.
well, let's hope that you're one of the individuals who's like, oh, I have a precedent here because of this class action lawsuit, and I'm suing you individually. And I hope there's millions of people that do it, so that way it costs them more in lawyer fees than it would just be pay out a settlement.
Yeah, it also depends on the settlement information, the settlement contract, and like the details of the court ruling too, of whether or not they have to pay fines in the future too.
You know,
So
I have to say,
we had a topic
Bart,
not that long ago where whatever company it was that didn't have to pay things out for or future issues, I guess. What was?
Yeah, but you can't just discount everybody else who wasn't a part of the class action lawsuit.
No, absolutely not. I mean, like everyone generally, a part of class action lawsuits in particular is a justification based on the number of people that actually are currently being affected by it.
But I mean, if there was if there was over 10 million, each one of them got $1. Like,
but that's see, the problem is class action lawsuits aren't for the benefit of the individual; they're more for the hurt of the company. And
but that's not even hurting the company, and they earned way more money than what the penalty was. This is the same issue with the pharmaceutical companies. And the same backlash that they're getting.
Well,
I'll pay the fine, but I made $1 billion, so poor me.
Well, and I get the court's
do you have
an
addiction problem? Oh well.
I get the court's decision too that the price is supposed to be based on the amount of the amount of damage actually done.
You know, with all these lawsuits and everything,
I
man,
do
I'm
agree
surprised
that
you're such a simp for them, man.
Now he's just trying to rile me
I
up.
hate
Here
that
it is.
word. Like the fact
I
that
do
you keep using
too.
it.
That's why I
Yeah,
use it.
I
'cause it
use
just
it.
makes you. What was it? I used
it last week. I used it last week or the week before, I think, for the first time. And I was like, I don't know how I like myself saying that word.
It makes you feel dirty, doesn't it?
It does 100%. I'm ready to leave this
But,
podcast.
So we all know Apple's a piece of shit. Blah 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 blah. They got a slap on the wrist. Blah 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 blah.
But yeah, I mean, 10 million pounds or 10 million euros to them, $12 million is a drop in the bucket. It's really nothing to them anyway to continue selling iPhones. They're going to sell more than that 10,000 iPhones, or whatever it's required to equal that cost.
Yep.
In the same argument that you're making, Mark, where it's not about the money to the individual so much as hurting the company, this is a precedent. John, you brought it up earlier when we started this. This can be used against them in other court systems, even if it's not just local to the Italian market, right?
Oh, the
that's
EU's
the
going to
goal.
slam them.
It benefits other courts or defendants in other courts whenever it comes to, or I'm sorry, not defendants, because Apple would be the defendant, I guess, technically, but it would benefit the plaintiffs in other court cases across the globe in saying, look, the Italian government identified this and imposed a fine against them. But that still has to come down to a personal thing to the judge and the jury to outweigh. Or give weight to, what kind of issue this is.
And again, this is $1,000 phone. They're going to spend that per minute on their lawyers. I figured they would just be more willing to deal with the warranty case and just give the phone away and just be done with it at this point.
We don't need to talk about weight. We just had Thanksgiving. Had a lot of meals. Okay.
Yep. And I just dropped one.
You had to hold that one in for a few seconds while John finished up.
I did, yes. That happens a lot when I tell my stupid jokes.
Yeah, there's always one where you're like waiting and you're waiting it's too late now.
It's not as funny now.
But this is something I had said last time we talked about it. A court case here too is it takes a government organization to impose a fine as opposed to necessarily a court case, because a court case, the monetary value is for you or for the plaintiff to impose one in the first place, and then the judge to manipulate that how he or she sees fit. So a government regulator or a government regulation body coming into play and saying we're imposing a fine that's backed by the courts and whoever else, they can set whatever price they want to. Now, unfortunately, they impose something low enough that, they don't, that it's really not going to affect Apple that much, but it is going to take these government organizations to do that.
I agree. Agreed.
it just doesn't do anything for me. I just feel like Apple's laughing at all these fines going, oh no, that $1 billion I made yesterday just isn't going to cover it. Well, I got another meeting to go to and I got to poop. So you got this over with.
The goal would be death by 1,000 cuts, not one large blow.
Yeah.
So if enough of these happen.
1,000 cuts.
Seriously, like,
and if we
the David and Goliath story is not true. Let's just put it this way.
I mean, if we have to have an Apple lawsuit, if we have to have an Apple lawsuit or an Apple fine or an Apple settlement or whatever case or news article for the next or next whatever 52 weeks, that's gonna hurt them.
Dude, Apple could create a death phone that literally kills its users and people would still fucking buy it.
Definition of a cult. Also, I just want to say, David, what a bully. Okay, Goliath was just doing his fucking job. Okay.
He's throwing rocks at him. Like, who wouldn't defend themselves?
Like, come on.
How mean.
I'll make sure to tell my mom that her dachshund is named David, Conqueror of Giants.
There you go. There you go. Any final thoughts before we move on to our final topic of the show?
Apple's evil, and I'm moving away from them for a reason.
There you go. Can't play Fortnite on it anyways, and the Galactus came today, and you couldn't play on your goddamn iPhone. Sucks. Time to move on to the final topic of the show. John, let us know what's going on with Sony and PS5s. Can I buy another one? I need 3 in this house today.
Oh, do you now? Well, good luck. Right now, Sony is confirming that PS5 is the biggest console launch that it's ever had, which is great. They haven't really given us any numbers, but we all know that everybody can't find the stupid things. Now, granted, this isn't necessarily a Wii situation where they're creating the shortage. It's just flying out so fast. But it's also...
Can I interrupt real quickly?
Yeah.
So I did happen to see a tweet today from Nibel, who is someone on Twitter who does a lot of video game numbers. The PS4 sold 40,000 units at launch within the first week in Spain, 43,000 for the PS5. So there you go. There's your numbers.
Awesome.
Those are actual numbers. That's
I'm
real.
so glad you interrupted my flow for that.
Those are real.
You're a horrible person.
Numbers.
I just want to put that out.
For you.
You're an attention hog, and I'm just going to get you one. I'm going to freaking get it embroidered for you and staple it to your forehead.
I wish I could mute you on this podcast.
Bet you do. Son of a... But, oh, sorry. Didn't mean to yell.
Remember the editor's right here. So, you know.
How many times are you going to have to listen to this?
Whatever I want with both of you.
Oh, that's true. Oh, man, that's awful. Why do we give him so much power?
Replace our voices with just meowing
with
cats
quacking.
For like a solid 3 minutes. Like, it doesn't matter what we're talking about. It's just meow, meow, meow.
Every time we insult him, and it's
my little notifications over there. You've laid to bed now.
I'm so excited.
So am I. So excited. No, can I talk? Is that okay, Brett?
Yeah.
Can I talk?
You're good,
you sure?
Please.
Yeah.
I actually insist that you talk this time.
Okay, good. All right, so...
Anyways, like I was saying...
You motherfucker. The biggest console launch ever. Obviously, there's no numbers to go with this, but we also have these promises of restock coming in before 2021, which we've already had confirmations of Black Friday stuff coming out, which it seems like some people got some, but it wasn't really anything big. Like all these scalpers just keep picking them up, right? And you know,
control yourself. We're on a podcast.
My real question: oh my, what is he doing? I can't even look at it right now. What's he doing?
Control myself.
There's a game called Control too. Myself. You forgot that. You should have thrown up a sign with Control on it. You know, but right now scalpers are really kind of taking control of the situation. Sony had a really good idea where they were talking about using PS Plus, and you know, people who have been around for a long time on that system would have been a great idea. They had something there that would have really been able to stop people saying, we're going to send you an email, you know, here. They said they went with this lottery system that really didn't work, and very, very, very few people actually got responses back from it. And people like me and you who have had I mean, we've been on making trophies since the PS3 era started. We've had PS Plus pretty much since its inception. And
96 platinums, baby.
And yeah, I mean, our trophy count is fairly impressive. I'm not going to say it's crazy, but we're definitely in the top 10 percentile.
Yeah, we have a life outside of video games, so nerd.
I mean, granted, there was a while there we were deciding that may or may not be the case, but you know, between that and you know peripherals, even you know PSVR, PS Vita, PSP, all these abilities for us to show, you know, I guess when you call it loyalty or whatever, but it would have been a really good thing for them to do. I mean, easy emails, you have them all. PS Plus is literally based with them. Like it's super easy, right? But they went with a lottery system, so that screwed us. And then all of a sudden, all the early casting with Walmart and GameStop and Amazon, they got flooded on the day before. People got screwed. They went to sleep thinking they were going to wake up the next day and have their battle for their pre-order. And it's just been a giant battle, right? And then we have online companies who are trying to fight this, showing that, this ring of scalpers was bragging about how they got so many units and all this other stuff, and then they shut them down, which was kind of really cool. But was it really on Sony, or is it on the online? I mean, online retailers really can't do anything about the scalpers, and you can only do so much, really. But, and on top of that, physical stores aren't really able to do much other than you pre-order it, come and pick it up. That's all you get.
Well, I mean, not only that, Sony specifically impeded that, right? Where they said, we're not going to put them in physical stores, right?
Yeah, so they said they didn't want
GameStop
to pressure people to increase the COVID rate which is smart. Don't get me wrong. Like, I understand where you're coming from. But again, why didn't you use a better system to deal with this? You had the opportunity. You had everybody's emails. Like, God, it just would have been so nice. But, Xbox too. I mean, they're having the same issues. You got scalpers trying to sell Xboxes at anywhere between $100 and $1,500, and PlayStations for some reason for like $2,000, anywhere between $1,000 to $2,000. I don't know why, but I guess they're at a higher demand, so therefore they think they can get more money.
Yeah, they 100% are. Those same numbers I gave you for Spain, 14,100 Xbox Series X compared to 43,000 PlayStation 5s. Like, it's not even close.
Jesus.
I mean, it's a 25% or truly 20% market share.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, it really depends on what the supply and demand is. It could still be as rare and in demand for specific people. Just, obviously probably a little bit easier because I'm sure that Xbox made millions of them. But to be fair, the Xbox Series X, it might actually push people away from PlayStation to go with the Series X if they really want a new console that bad. I don't know why you need it right now. You can wait until 2021 to be perfectly happy.
If you're a Chivo hunter in the same way that we are Platinum hunters, I get it.
Yeah, I mean, we've already Platinum 2 or 3 games on the PlayStation 5, which is super nice. But this whole stock thing is actually kind of worrying me. Well, PlayStation, claiming that COVID really hasn't had an effect on their supply for the demand, I don't necessarily believe. Though I also believe that people are kind of just being assholes, and I wish there was a way to stop them. And this is kind of like disconcerting when I have coworkers coming and be like, "Do you know anybody who has a PlayStation 5?" I'm like, "Yeah, but they're all scalpers." Like, I don't know what to tell you. Yep. I don't think they're going to be nice to me and say, "Hey, I have a really nice guy who really wants to get one for his kid. Do you mind not be giving me the scalp or lowering the barrier a little bit?" No, they're not going to do that.
Well, I mean, hell, we have our Discord group where we had multiple people buy multiple consoles. You, myself, like other individuals. Granted, you and I kind of got ours claimed pretty early. We decided what we were going to do with them and went that route. But my expectation was I'd be able to find one or two. I had a buddy of mine reach out from our previous employer, Mark, who, by the way, there you go, who reached out, was like, "Hey, I want to play Demon's Souls. That sounds great. I would love to play that on PS5. And I was like, actually, we have this great Discord group. Punch People bought it. I'm sure I'll be able to find 15-minute conversation with 3 separate people. Everyone's like, nah, like we all had extras and they were gone like that.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, okay. So they're just gone. And I do think COVID's to blame for a bit of it. I do think on top of that, you have the general supply constraints, right? It is holidays. And I won't deny that these scalpers have any sort of implication on it because they obviously do.
Oh yeah, 100%. And not to mention, after Black Friday now, with them going to be, there's the promise of another shipment before the end of the year, but promises are whatever they are. Like reality, we know what transpires between shipments and actual manufacturing. Like it could, one thing happens, everything gets muddled. Yep. But this just gives more power to the scalpers. And I really wish that people would have learned from previous generations even, or other items that these scalpers, they exist, and it's hurting people. Like, why can't you help your base, the people that you want to buy your consoles, to get more money in your pocket? Instead, now you got thousands upon thousands upon thousands of PS5s sitting in a basement trying to be sold for 4 times the price. That is not making you any money. You hurt yourself doing this. And that's why I want Sony to do more. That's really what this is about. It's not like, if you're a scalper, do you make money however you can. I get it. I'm not gonna, bash you on this.
You're a piece of shit. I will bash you. Fuck you. You're a piece of shit. I'm sorry.
No, you're a piece of shit if a kid with cancer comes up to you and says, I want a PS5, and you don't give it to him. Then you're a piece of shit.
I think you're a piece of shit if you're talking about a device that is limited in the ability for it to get in the hands, and it's almost Christmas, right? Like, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, it's cold, but at the same time, business is always cold.
It makes them a piece of shit. That no,
I mean, everybody has the right to make money however they see fit.
No,
and if the system themselves isn't, see, this is what I mean. This is on Sony. They should have.
It's not on Sony.
How the hell is it not on Sony?
It's also on these people for going out of their way to be like, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to create a bot or leverage a bot that's available on the internet to buy as many as possible.
That's no different than a smart person creating a program to fool their boss into thinking they're working.
Yeah, it's just like someone taking a gun and shooting another person in cold blood, or to go rob a bank. It's a tool.
Not the same thing. Not the same thing at all.
No. So again, you're saying, all right, someone was smart. They created a bot. It's a tool, right? Mm-hmm. So taking that same tool and using it for good or bad. They're using it for bad when they're just scalping a bunch of these fucking things. It's not the same level as killing a person.
It's not malevolent. Like, it's ethically like ambiguous, but it's not.
It's not ambiguous. Stop calling it ambiguous. It is bad because they are literally preventing other people who
bad for other people, but good for other. Again, there's no difference in that and you buying a product online.
No, it's not good for other people. It's literally only good for them.
Yeah, I agree with that. There's an advantage here, but at the same time, like it's I'm not taking their side, okay? What I'm saying is that what I'm saying, you're an ass.
I'm not an ass. I'm saying you are underplaying this considerably because you're saying, oh, they're fine for what they're doing. No,
I didn't say they're fine. I'm saying I'm not mad at them.
I'm mad at them.
I understand where that's fine. You can be mad at them, but you should be mad at Sony is my point.
No, I could care less about Sony. You know why? Because Sony creates a product that's available on the internet. You're a piece of shit for taking a bot and taking away the chance for somebody who doesn't follow the PlayStation ecosystem, who doesn't sit there on websites and goes over and over again to fucking reload the page to try and get it because they're busy.
What about the people that didn't use bots?
They lost out too. There's plenty of people. That's my point.
No, let's say we got 2 consoles. We were able to get multiple consoles, and we didn't use a bot. But if I chose to sell one after the fact, whatever.
What would you sell it for?
$100,000. It's what it's worth.
And you're a piece of shit. If you sell it for anything over making a marginal profit, I'm cool with. You know what? Cost $500. I'll sell it for $600. All right, that's your.
I mean, to be honest, the reason I even went for more than one console was to make sure all of our friend groups, whoever wanted one, would be able to get one. After I got one, I was totally satisfied, but there was a press to go farther.
But that's totally different than what these people are doing. They're literally taking it to make as much money as possible.
I agree with you. The construct of doing this to stop someone else from getting it so you can make a profit is ethically wrong. I'm not saying it's
not just ethically wrong. It just makes you a piece of shit.
Okay, well, ethically and morally wrong.
It makes you a piece of shit.
Okay, he's a piece of poopy. Okay, you win. I'm just kidding. No, you don't. But
please stop. I know you're just watching the damn counter. I know you're just watching the damn counter and wait for you to. I have had my fingers over the top of the buttons for the 2 of you.
Literally not talk so he can just focus on the. All right, gotta go on.
I haven't said a word because I have to hold my fingers over these buttons because of Jesus Christ, the amount of times Brent has said the word "fuck" and "shit."
I stand by
the
my
timer
words.
Reset.
This
and
is
I'm pretty
also
sure I cussed more than 2 times.
Oh, you were in the lead until now.
Yeah, I accidentally cleared the timer, but
anyways,
This is the most tilted podcast we've ever had.
It's certainly one of the. Okay, look.
I don't think I've ever seen Brent get so
out of
frustrated.
Context. What I was trying to get to, which I understand how you may feel about scalpers. They are not good people, but I understand where they're coming from. Is all I'm saying. They're trying to make a buck.
I don't.
And right now in this world, everybody's trying to make a buck.
Greedy folks.
Greedy assholes is what you are. It's not illegal. It's morally and ethically wrong. And I think there are other people who deserve those consoles and don't have to pay $2,000 for them. That is absolutely true.
Put the full blame on Sony though, because they
had the opportunity to do it right, and they chose to back out and do a shitty lottery system.
So Sony's
that is
job
on
here,
them. It's
Sony's
their
job
product.
Here is to fix the problem in the first place, and the problem is that in a completely online world as we've been for the last 9 months now, the problem is that's almost impossible to do.
Yes,
like a lot of states and a lot of countries don't allow for in-person sales, and the only way to get around bots and that problem is for in-person sales.
Yeah.
So the issue is that Sony and the
there was another way.
Other companies
utilizing PlayStation Plus emails only for a specific time would have solved a majority of these issues.
Technically, they did that. You and I just were not chosen.
No, they did a shitty lottery. They have the ability to do a lottery system that they could have done however many they wanted and told Best Buy, Amazon, GameStop to go fuck themselves and say, no, we don't have the supply for this, so we're going to do it this way.
I don't think they did enough of the,
I agree
the
they
PS
don't did
Plus,
enough.
Like pre-order stuff.
I think what you're asking for, John, is something that is not feasible in general.
How the fuck is it not feasible?
Because what you're saying is basically fuck everybody who doesn't have a PSN. You have to have a PSN
for a short period of time, and then it goes out into the wild, and then you have your lottery system.
That's what they did. Again,
no, they didn't. They gave it. We don't even know how many people they contacted via email. It could have been 1,000 people. You're telling me that would be
Mark's
enough.
Point. And that's Mark's point, is that they didn't do enough.
Right.
It's not that they didn't do it. It's just they didn't implement it at a large enough scale.
Now, to be fair,
that's what I'm saying. It wasn't based on merit. It was just based on a lottery. Like, you could have done that with anybody who signed up. They didn't even have to have a PlayStation Plus account to do that.
So the difference is a lottery system would have been open to the public. And that's what shoe sales generally do.
No, you just typed in your email and put it in the lottery.
No, you had to have a PSN account. You had to put in your PSN name.
So
Sorry,
here's the pro and con though to the PSN thing though, is that if you put preference on the people who already have PSNs and put preference on the people who already have PS4s and have put time in, then you lose out on the possibility of new customers that are coming over from Xbox or from PC that might be losing out already or might be looking for something new. Now, I understand the other point, and the problem is that group of people is going to lose out regardless here.
Yeah.
If you increase the size of the pool of people who already have PSNs and are established, have long-standing accounts, have tons of platinums, have tons of games under their belt.
They're the ones that are going to make you money.
Those are the ones who are going to spend more money on their PS5 instead of making an initial investment necessarily. They're going to spend a ton of money on getting the disc version, like you guys did, for example, and making sure that they get a full-featured experience with it.
Correct.
But you can also vet those people because they've had tons of time with Sony on their networks. And I think Sony definitely should have spent more time focusing on those people than they should have on the new people. But to be fair, after this last generation of Xbox, I think they expected a brand new influx of a ton of new people too.
I also want to state that this problem is not strictly with Sony. We're talking about PlayStation 5 because Sony's talking about bringing in stock and where PlayStation 5
we've
Xbox,
talked endlessly. Yeah. Because the Xbox article about the 1,000 Xboxes that were just put back in circulation because of the ring that was shut down.
Yep. Same issue. So
that was an online retailer that blew my mind. I was like, thank you for doing the right thing. Like, thank you.
And from the
trying.
PC perspective, two brand new generation of graphics cards from both companies just got released that are very competitive, both of which are extremely out of stock because of scalpers and supply issues. That's different, but it's still a widespread problem, especially lately because everything's online now.
Absolutely.
You know, and realistically, it's
It was
easy
never
to
not
run
online though.
botnets.
Anybody could. All the past consoles were
Not
available.
not to the same level.
pre-order.
The stock available online by ratio was not the same by a long shot.
But they weren't
Also,
available in store, so there was more available online than there would have been in beforehand.
Oh. No, there would have been more available in store and less available online by ratio.
No, I agree with that. But those in store were no longer available, and they were added to the online.
Right? Exactly, and that's what I mean is part of the problem. We're talking the same. We're talking the same point, just different ways, but. It's still going to be a widespread problem regardless, and the onus unfortunately comes down to the manufacturers and the sales companies.
Hey, that's like one that you can do. You don't need to give him that. Don't give him that.
I got 12 more to do.
John's a fucking piece of shit. There you go.
Why? You guys hate me. I swear you guys hate me sometimes. Like Brent had like 30 something last week. I swear you guys hate me. No, but
I cuss like a sailor. I can't help it.
No, but it's a widespread problem, and unfortunately, the onus in the pre-order and online sales world has to come back to the sales companies, the manufacturers, Best Buy, B&H Photo, Amazon, Newegg, whoever is selling this, Walmart. Like they have to figure this out from an online perspective of what is the best way to beat out the botnets here.
Yeah.
Because so here's part of the problem, and from an online perspective, from a tech perspective, this is a very difficult thing to fight.
No, I think it's easy. You have to create an account. Bots can create an account, but they can only do it so fast. So it'll slow them down enough for the people who already have accounts that are already signed in.
I would think you're surprised. I would think you'd be surprised.
When you're talking about accounts for like a digital storefront, it's not that hard. Because the whole point is the barrier of entry has to be easy, so the average consumer can do it quickly.
Okay, then do this. You have. Oh man, that won't work.
So that's the thing. The biggest thing that could combat this is Google's "Are you a robot?" thing. But the problem is most companies don't want to implement something that heavy because it's annoying sometimes, but it's meant to be. So companies don't want to implement that when it comes to registering accounts, with them because it takes too much time and it can frustrate people, which means that their number of registrations would go down for accounts and their amount of data tracking would go down and their analytics into like what kind of advertisements to throw out there would go down. So nobody wants to implement that, but that would be the biggest thing to implement because it requires a physical human being to be present to figure that out and click it.
Yeah, I
don't know if you've done like but the problem is that nobody wants to implement that because it's too heavy. They would rather just let the consumers deal with the problem and say, whoa, sorry, it's not our fault, but it is. They could do something about it, but they just won't.
Agreed.
And nobody wants to identify that, so that's the problem to me.
Sony could have stopped that problem though from the get-go. And that's what makes me mad.
So here's the problem though, is that Sony's not necessarily the problem off the rip. It is the companies that actually sell the PlayStations that you buy the PlayStations from that are the problem.
Well,
not
Sony was actually also saying that, no, we're not going to be affected by COVID. And then here we are with a super short supply. And it's like, obviously you fucking were, and you just didn't want to say it.
So here's the thing, though. Literally the topic we're talking about is they've confirmed the PS5 is the biggest console launch. They probably weren't low on supply considering what they had for PS4. They've just sold more than they expected.
I don't believe a fucking thing they say until I see numbers. A biggest launch could also be that it flew off the shelf the fastest, and that's what they consider the biggest launch. Until I see numbers, eat poop.
I gave you numbers.
You gave me numbers for Spain, which means
3,000 more than last year, which we can attribute to all those countries.
You want to talk about a 10% increase in Spain? That could just, that's a piss in the bucket for North America, bro.
I personally feel like you're being unreasonable in this because you are sitting here asking for numbers, but you're still demanding that they be better without numbers. Like, it goes both ways.
No, I think it's pretty easy to understand that there was a short supply when you had scalpers who were getting thousands of them and everyone else is, you can't just say, well, it doesn't do you any good. The whole point, you knew this was coming. I mean, they were pretty much like, hey, we're going to do a lottery system. And it's like, it's because you know your supply was short. Don't act coy. Like, you knew this was coming.
So here's the only thing. You keep talking about lottery systems. Lottery systems don't help.
They can if they isolate the variables
There's
at which
104 million PS4 owners. They all have to have a PSN.
Yeah.
So
They don't have
How many
104 PS5.
You narrow that down to PlayStation Plus, who are active members, and you don't have to worry about who's actually going to
63
buy.
million people. 63 million people have an active PS Plus membership.
Cool.
Right.
At
But
least
they
you
don't have
narrowed
63
down.
million units.
At least you
But then
narrowed it
you're
down.
But
They
then you're
don't
still
have 63 million. Like, they narrowed it down by what? 40 million? They still don't have that many units. They have maybe 20 million.
There's still
total.
going to be a lottery of sorts from what the current
Which they
supply would be,
did.
but also not everybody is going to be ordering it.
And that lottery
You know
was way
that.
too small.
Yes.
There's not a demand enough for a lot of people that need it.
Correct.
So
They still
therefore,
ran
you
out
would
of
have supplied
supplies.
all the people who wanted it that would have
No,
used it.
that's not how that works. Just because there's less demand doesn't mean there's that much less. They could literally have 3 million less demand and they would still need 60 million units.
Okay. Point is, f- you Sony, you should have done more. You
Okay.
guys are saying, f- you retailer, you should have done more. Truth is, everyone's f- enjoy. That's
Correct.
pretty much
Any
the
fi-
ending.
Any final thoughts on the
That's it.
PlayStation
That was my
5?
final thought.
What I'm understanding is I'm the one who's because I have to edit out all these curse words that have just.
It's a
happened,
lot of
so.
going on. You're right. But now I think it's
This
time.
screen
for
needs to end, Brent.
This screen needs to end, John. Now it's time for last call.
Last call!
Last call.
This was supposed to be a
Mark is so
short
excited.
segment, by the way.
This was
Put
supposed to
that
be a
out there.
short episode. We said at the beginning of this was going to be a short episode.
You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Of course, we are in our
Hey.
quarantine bunkers, cussing up a storm and drinking more than we probably should for our livers. You can join our Discord where we can have some more arguments about PlayStation and their pre-order system, or we can talk about playing Among Us or Space Game, Untitled Space Game, something like that. I don't know. It's happening next week. For some cool ass shit this week. It looks like Demon's Souls has officially been beaten in 20 minutes on the PS5. That's fun. And also, it looks like the Xbox Series consoles are able to play a PS2 emulator. There's a lot of cool stuff in that article. Please check it out. Finally, for our question of the week, which we will make, I won't say short, but like we're gonna move through it pretty quickly. What is your least favorite way to prepare food at home? And that's right. I remember my own fucking questions, you piece of shit. Try and edit what I have there. My least favorite way to prepare food at home is frying food. I know. Prepare
So
food.
to be fair, I saw that at the start of the episode. You guys are just gonna have to wonder what we're talking about. But no, I saw that at the beginning of the episode. I just didn't want to say anything. Oh my god,
Yeah.
that's great.
It gives me ultimate joy. There's no reason for it.
When it comes to preparing food, I hate frying food. Like the actual act of getting the oil in a pot, heating it up properly, frying it, make sure you don't burn it, because if you heat it too much, it's gonna burn. Then you have to clean everything up. I fucking hate it. So I will personally not fry food a lot, which means this pandemic has been great for Brent's figure because I stopped eating a whole lot of fried food compared to what I was doing beforehand. However, when I go out, oh, it don't matter.
No holds barred.
I've worked. Yep, I've worked a fryer in a kitchen before. I know how that shit works. You drop it in a basket and go. So I'll eat wings, fried onion rings, whatever, all day long. But at home, refuse.
Well, I mean, it's also a lot of like wasted oil, and like it's
Yep.
it's just too much of a pain in the ass to do at home. Not unless you're just like, I'm super in the mood for wontons or whatever you're cooking.
Whatever it is.
Which,
Yeah.
by the way, those Philly wontons you made like back in 2009,
September 08.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I actually remember when you gave me those because you know what I was playing? Heavy Rain.
What? Oh man.
I was platinuming Heavy Rain that night, and you came in and you're like, try this. And I was like, this is amazing. That's how memorable
best
that
part.
meal was.
Here's the best part: not fried.
Really?
Cooked in a muffin tin in the oven.
Ooh, that was
Yeah.
delicious. Anyway,
Here for you, man.
my mouth is watering. Jesus. Woo.
All the yelling.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, exactly.
Center your mic.
No.
All right. So for me, it's anything that requires, I guess, like a heavy bath of soaking using oils, which falls right in line with what you were talking about, Brent, with like deep frying. I don't do necessarily a whole lot of deep frying, but like brining or marinating in like some oils or dressings or something like that. Like that's something I do pretty often, but it's not something that I enjoy doing necessarily, because like anything that involves heavy oils and all that stuff, you can't really pour down the drain, and you have to have somewhere to either pour it out in the backyard or have to dispose of it somehow, and it's just annoying to deal with, especially if it's in a pan and you have to try
glass
to
jars.
carry that somewhere. But
do you tell me that you just go out back and just toss your oil into your yard?
Oh yeah, I've done that before. Well, especially with the flat top I have now, the griddle. Because I have a little pan that catches all the oil. I just go into the woods and throw it out there.
That is horrible for the environment.
We've got the woods out back here or whatever. There's
like fats is one thing, but oils is not.
No. So it's one thing if it's like petroleum oil.
No, yeah.
Another thing
it's all
we're talking about like
I understand the difference
between
between petroleum oil and cooking oil. But I'm
no,
saying
but like cooking oil, things will come and eat it. They get rid of it for you. Now, you have to be cautious because if you do too often, you bring in critters that are larger than you want to deal with.
Well, like bacon fat and stuff is fine. Like, that's no big deal. But if you're cooking with vegetable oil and stuff like that, you should not be doing that.
Yeah. If you're deep frying wings, you don't want to throw that shit in the fucking woods.
No. But I hate dealing with that stuff like altogether. So I would much rather fry something like on a pan or deal with it on the grill or bake it or something else that doesn't involve a ton of like oil or a full submersion. But unfortunately, also some of the better meals that I've had have also come from that. Like whenever I do turkey for Thanksgiving every year, I usually brine it.
Mm-hmm.
I say every year. I haven't done one in like 2 years, but
every year it's fine.
Like brining a turkey was one of my favorite things to do, but the problem is there was so much prep, and then getting rid of it, especially when I lived in Florida, was kind of a pain because there was really nowhere to dump it. So
in the swamp with the gators, right?
Or in the storm drain outside the parking lot, one or the other.
There you go. Yeah, whatever. Totally safe for the environment. John, what's your least favorite way to prepare food?
I don't like preparing food in general.
There you go. Problem solved. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next week. Now,
I actually try to keep my meals fairly simple. It's like
Taco Bell, McDonald's, Wendy's, whatever.
Constant fast food. I don't have to worry about cooking. It's super easy.
1 to 2 name meals at a time.
Well, really, what it is comes down to like simple chopped salad. Like burger.
That was 3. You're president, John.
Maybe
simple chopped salad.
Some like baked beans. I might do some baked beans with one of those meals. No, I think the most complicated meal I probably make is actually tacos.
Yeah. Well, you do double decker, which makes
I put a lot of effort into those tacos.
Yeah, they're good. They're good tacos.
But no, when it comes, I like simple meals because there's not a lot of adding. Like, there's just not a lot of crap. Like, let me make this hollandaise sauce for this crab cake that took me 45 minutes to make at the end of the day after I spent 8 hours at work minimum. And I also spent probably 2 or 3 hours out in the yard. And then I'm going to come in, make my meal, maybe before a shower. And it's like, by the time I'm done doing everything that's just necessary for living, it's 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night. And it's like, how about I just make a meal that makes 15 minutes to make and I'll be fine. And I can make it healthy. That's the good part. You can make healthy, simple meals that are fast, and and it makes the portion smaller too. So I actually eat a lot less. So
I've argued for you for years. You should do meal prep. You should on Sunday night. You should cook your meal.
Again, I will when things present themselves to be as easy.
You can do it for.
There's not enough room in the fridge with all these people in the house.
We'll talk about it off the show. Until next time, please let us know how
I had to get rid of it.
Your least favorite way to prepare food in the kitchen. Until next time, cheers.
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 Oh boy.